Hey, in 1988, Forrest and I were voted the two best interviewees on TV. I'm probably the most proud of my days in drag racing. Probably starting with the modified eliminator days. Those were the fun days. I mean, when we used to go to Indy and 150 cars would show up and you'd all pull into the staging lanes, and whoever you ran against next to you, that's how it ended up. And I mean, you had to, in order to win those days, you had to clean out the herd.
The next step up the ladder, modified eliminator. Here's Larry Kopp from Baltimore, Maryland. Running against him is Tony Christian from Arlington Heights, Illinois, a pair of Corvettes. The head start to Larry Kopp. The front wheels just bouncing off the ground as the gear changes are made. And your modified eliminator world champion, Larry Kopp, 10.84 seconds. His speed, 106 miles an hour, as he annexes the modified eliminator crown.
Oh, modified was so cool. I would like to see these guys drive today. Some of these hot shoes that are out here that think they sit behind these cars with the automatic transmissions and everything else. I'd like to see them drive one of these 5-speed, manually shifted cars, okay, and see how good they all are. As a matter of fact, I wish I could get one of those cars back right now and see if I could still drive it again, because they were a handful. They were a lot more of a handful. Well, maybe I shouldn't say that. These cars are a handful to steer, and you can get in trouble faster with these. But the other cars, those Corvettes and those other cars with the wheel stands, they were fun to drive. I wish the class never stopped, because it was a neat class, but it too got out of hand. You see what competition eliminator is like now. It's just out of hand, way out of hand. I don't know if I'm probably more proud of Pro Stock. I mean, to come in, I did real well, and I'm not bragging. I mean, for the short amount of time I went in there, you know, coming in third the one year behind Bob Glidden, Warren Johnson, then myself, and then Bruce Allen right behind me. I mean, when you're centered in between those three people, I mean, you should really be proud of yourself.
These drivers had very tough contests in round number 1. We saw Tony Christian get by the #1 qualifier, Bruce Allen, and the 8-time world champion, Bob Glidden, while he narrowly defeated Canadian Alban Gauthier. It's no secret, Glidden has been struggling just a bit, but ask the competitors, they'll tell you at any race he can fight you right back. Tony Christian, well, here's a guy who's shown us an awful lot of horsepower and tremendous driving ability, a former stockbroker, originally from Chicago, now residing down in Florida and doing this for a living.
You know what seems strange, Don Garlitz, is that all of these cars, the Pro Stockers, have chosen the near lane, while the Nitro cars have chosen the far lane. Why would that be?
That's because the near lane is smoother, and of course the short wheelbase car responds better on a smoother course.
A perfect lead for both cars as Bob Glidden gets a little squirrely on the takeoff. Christian now pulls ahead, and it'll be Tony Christian winning this run. Christian with a 7:56 at 100.
I mean, I really enjoyed winning. You know, winning. I didn't win a lot. I won 3 meets and had a bunch of runner-ups, but no, I was proud with that. That was some proud times. I had good equipment, I felt, and I was equally as good a driver as any one of them. And yeah, they came out and kicked my butt a lot, okay, but I kicked theirs a bunch of times too. So, no, I wasn't intimidated by him. And I got to really look it up. I think I might be one of the only drivers that has a winning record against Bob Glidden. I got to check into that.
2 races in a row. Tony Christian has defeated the world champion Bob Glidden. Feels good, huh?
Feels great. You watching TV, you heard that song, when was the last time you driven a Ford? I was singing, when was the last time you thumped a Ford?
7:56.
See you next round.
Oh, when someone beat Bob Glidden in that era, I mean, first there was Lee Shepard, and then came Bob Glidden. And I mean, beating Bob Glidden was like, the biggest thing ever. And I mean, I beat him one time 3 times in a row, and they used to have that TV commercial on. When was the last time you driven a Ford? And I got on and I said, when was the last time you thumped a Ford? I said, he didn't like it much, but I had fun doing it. And Bob was a good sport. We all got along real well back in the old Pro Stock days. Now, these guys, nobody talks to each other. I mean, it's kind of like, you know, everything's private, everything's hush-hush. Back then, we used to go around, be able to kid around with the racers and have fun. Now it's too wrapped around money and everything else. I mean, it's too serious now. If I had the money to go racing and pick any class that I could race, that would be Pro Stock would be the last class I would ever go race. Reason being, it would probably cost $3 to $4 million a year to have a competitive team. Secondly, you go out there, you have 2 different chassis builders, so you got to pick between them. Third of all, you got only a few different engine builders. No, I wouldn't do it. I would race Pro Mod. That's the best class. I don't want to say for the buck, because you better have a big pocketbook then. But no, that would be the class I'd run. Okay, do I know if I would drive again? I'd seriously have to think about it. And not because I'm 65 years old. That has nothing to do with it. I think I could drive as good as I used to. Call me a sissy, okay? These cars are so fast. Belushi drives that top fueler 300 and some miles an hour. He feels those are safer than driving these, and so do I. These cars are a handful, and people get hurt in these cars, but I love them. Biggest regret in life would be wasting a lot of my money when I had money, giving it away, okay? Thinking everybody was your friend, okay? And finding out differently. I have a lot of friends, but boy, when you have money, you think you have a lot of friends. And you gotta separate them, and now I'm able to separate them.
No other than Hurricane Tony Christian! And the ripping up his big body, Chevelle has found himself in a class of his own this weekend. It's no other than Ron Fisher, the man sponsored by Setco this weekend, as he gets ready to back up into hot rubber. I'll tell you, this one's definitely on a hook at this point. If you want to talk about running in a class of his own, what I was exactly saying is Fisher didn't make the cruise in his own classification of racing, so he finds himself in our Super Pro Street program, running the big guns like Tony Christian in this round of competition. Fisher backing up the crew. Well, anything can happen. Don't count yourself out, Ron. And now Tony Christian and the crew talking it over. Let's see if Tony goes for lane choice. He watched Walter run out in the 730 plus. Let's see if Tony can lay down some of those 20s he's been promising all weekend. Qualifying in the #1 qualifying spot. There he is, Hurricane Tony Christian. The man the Swedes would love to put a blue and yellow flag on the trunk lid of this machine. They'd like to take him home with him. He has just been torturing them for the last couple of years in Pro Street racing. Now, Christian rolls to the beams. Fisher ready to go. Lights are in. RPM's coming up. Fisher last man into the bulbs. Christian's in. Fully staged and ready to go. Tony Christian with an amazing whole shot reaction time. Taking the advantage off the tree down on the top end. A charge for Christian in the 760 range.
Well, what made it so fun in the old days racing the Pro Street, I really enjoyed it. I mean, I got called into it from a wealthy man, this Richard Rainwater, and I enjoyed doing it at first. And these rivalries we had, like with Pat Musey, I made Pat Musey famous. Nobody ever heard of Pat Musey before he started racing me. So you go tell Pat Musey that. And he knows it too. But I loved racing Pat. I loved racing the Net Summers. It was fun back then.
Megatime world champion Pro Street Racing with the National Muscle Car Association, making your first debut with the National Street Car Association. Tony Christian, your thoughts on being on Pat Musey's grounds this weekend?
Not on his grounds. Before it was like Mike Tyson going in boxing kindergartners.
You're not going to go pro mod. How do you feel about Christian leaving and going to pro mod?
I'd like him to stay here because it's a good rivalry, but he'll be back. He won't like it over there.
NSCA, who would?
I would have been, believe me, if I was over there. Take that to the bank. Music will go over there and tell you how good his 650s run. No, I would have been. Who's the fastest real car other than that hairdryer crap? Pat runs real good. I'm not going to take that away from him. Pat runs real good. Who's the most consistent, can make it down the track lap after lap after lap? Me. Period.
Front two guys, come on, walking together. Okay, back two guys, come on. Straight at me.
Just filming a military commercial.
Yeah. Join that. It's take. Thanks.
Can you talk about your relationship with Pat Musey?
Pat Musey and I are real good friends off the racetrack, okay? On the racetrack, we're not real good friends. And I couldn't do business with him, of course. My best friend's David Rear, so, you know, that's kind of a conflicting interest right there. No, I couldn't. I like Pat, though. Pat and I get along real well.
Between the Winter Nationals and the Gator Nationals, the sport of drag racing suffered an irreplaceable loss. Lee Shepard was killed in a testing accident in Texas, and at the Gator Nationals, the qualifiers in Pro Stock lined up in a missing man formation. The pole left open for this man, Lee Shepard.
When Lee Shepard died, it was a big strain on David Rear and Buddy Morrison. I was real good friends with all three of them. I mean, those guys taught me a lot also in racing. I mean, don't just sit there and think that I'm this great racer. Everything that I've done, I've been taught. And Lee Shepard, David Rear, Buddy Morrison, and Bruce Allen, okay? They've taught me a lot hanging around with them. So, you know, I had a good time. When Lee died, it was like, wow. But, you know, I mean, the older you get, you lose a lot of people close to you. And Lee Shepard was close to all of us. I mean, it really worked on David and Buddy for a long time. Yeah, I was the last person Lee Shepard ever beat at the '85 Winter Nationals. I'll never forget it. I mean, I beat him, or he beat me, and then Butch Leal came out and beat him the next round. And then it was after that, he had his accident and died. It was hard on the whole racing community. I mean, that was a racer right there. I mean, I love that group. We had a lot of fun together. Boy, I don't know. There have been a lot of them. I mean, I just got inducted into the Hall of Fame, okay, last year. And I don't know if that was it. I don't know if it was winning my first Pro Stock meet, winning the Pro Street races. That meant something to me, but not like winning Pro Stock or winning Modified Eliminator. It was a different group of people back then in Pro Street. Not as professional a bunch of racers that you'll find in Pro Stock, or years ago what we all thought we were professionals in Modified Eliminator. What do I want people to remember me for if I died tomorrow? That I wasn't the jerk a lot of people think I am, okay? And that I had the most fun life of anybody that I know.